some tech difficulty to loan our laptop. So this is actually two meetings. So the first meeting that we're going to have is a meeting of the CAM, the Common Area Maintenance Agreement Group. And then after that, we'll transition to a regular EAF board meeting. Those of you who are here because you're CAM members do not have to stay for the board meeting part, but you're more than welcome to. It's a public meeting if you would like to. So I think before we start with anything, I'd like to go around and introduce ourselves of everyone who's on the call. There are a few phone numbers, so when I get to those, I'll just ask who you are. So I'm just going to call a few names in the order I see them. When I call on you, please say who you are, your role, and why you're a part of this meeting. Michelle, do you want to go first, and then Victor, and then Dan?
Sure. My name is Michelle Chavez, and I am the Business Support Specialist for Public Works and the Staff Liaison for EAF.
Great, thank you. Victor, and then Dan.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Victor Rochelle. I'm the Director of Public Works for the city.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Paremba. I'm the Chief Redevelopment Officer working on a lot of the city center redevelopment matters in community development.
Great, thank you. Jackie, Melinda, and then Brad Power.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Jackie Lowe. I'm the Director of Finance for the city, also the EAF board member.
So, hi, I'm Melinda Golblish, and I'm the City of Englewood's city architect, and I also work on helping with the EAF properties with contracts and processing invoices and so forth.
Great, thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Brad Power. I'm the Director of Community Development Department. Excuse me, and I'm working with Dan, as he mentioned, on city center redevelopment issues.
Great, thank you. Christina, Mike, and John Piefler.
Hi, I'm Christy Underhill. I'm the Director for Parks, Recreation, Library, and Golf for the City of Englewood. I'm also an EAF board member.
Mike, you're up. I'm gonna come off mute and introduce yourself.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute.
No worries.
I'm Mike Miller. I'm an outside attorney working with EAF.
Great, thanks. And then John Piefler, Rachel Butler, and Trey.
John Piefler, Facilities Manager for City of Englewood Public Works Department.
Hi, I'm Rachel Butler. I'm the new Regional Property Manager for the Art Walk at City Center Apartments.
Hey, I'm Trey Blake, and I'm in Public Works. I'm Project Administrator, and I help manage EAF.
Great, thank you. And then we have someone else from Art Walk City as Assistant Manager, Art Walk. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Rachel. I'm the Assistant Community Manager at Art Walk. And then I've got Chris Chavez, who's the Maintenance Supervisor.
Great, thank you. And then we have two phone numbers. So caller from the 303-981-3213. Can you please identify yourself?
Yeah, this is Justin Backstrom with MDC. I represent L&R on the property management side for the assets that they own within the city center.
Great, thank you. Welcome, Justin. And then can the person whose phone number 786-281-7463 introduce themselves?
John Mitchell, ownership representative for Starwood L&R Partners of City Center Englewood, which Justin Backstrom is our property management arm.
Great, welcome, John. So I am going to do my best, Mike, to give an overview of the CAM and overview of what we're doing. But I'd love you, Mike, to correct me when I'm done if I miss anything or misinterpret anything. Does that work?
Sure.
All right. So just to kind of back up a little bit, as those of you on the call may know, the city is interested in dissolving EAF. The EAF board, so we have a lot of folks on the call today that are part of the city but are not on the board. So the board is made up of me. I'm the Deputy City Manager. I should have introduced myself, Tim Dodd, and also Jackie Lowe, our Finance Director, and our Parks, Rec, Library, and Golf Director, Christina Underhill. About a month ago, we voted as a board to resign as the maintenance manager. So per the CAM or Common Area Maintenance Agreement, once the maintenance manager resigns, there is a 90-day period before the resignation goes into effect. So we gave notice, but we are not officially resigned until November 2nd of 2023. So in a couple months coming up. So the purpose of the CAM meeting today is to pick a successor for the maintenance director. And I'll let Mike kind of talk about more details, but essentially EAF will be going away. And so this group needs to select a new maintenance director. It could be the city, it could be a third party. I think I have reached out to all CAM participants about what that could look like. And certainly today we'll have a discussion and also a vote. The EAF dissolution is moving forward. We have an agenda item later today for the EAF board to consider a contract with the city. And then Mike and his legal team have a few more steps they need to do. And I think there's a decent chance will be dissolved in the next few months. So the way the CAM works is there are 4 voting members. One of them I don't believe is here today, and I'll explain our outreach attempts for that in a few minutes. So the CAM basically specifies that the 4 entities can vote, and the vote is distributed based on how much they pay into the CAM. So just to go through the 4 based on how much they pay into the CAM, Wine Garden and its successor agency, which is LNR, paid $624,768 into the CAM. So they by far have the most paid into the CAM. Next is the City of Englewood, represented by the EAF board, which paid $324,832, followed by Art Walk City, which paid $165,436, and then finally by Walmart at $65,682. Walmart, I do not believe is here today, but let me just quickly explain how we reached out to them. In April, when we first started internally talking about the dissolution of EAF, I sent a letter to the corporate Walmart real estate office in Arkansas, did not receive a response. 2 weeks ago, I consulted with Mike about how to reach out to them. We then sent 2 letters, one to their corporate office and one to their local store. Neither one received a response. I also asked Trey Blake, and thank you, Trey, for doing this, who's an employee of our public works department, to go over there to try to speak to a manager in person. Those attempts were unsuccessful. I then called the store on Friday, and when I explained to the dispatcher who I was and what I was calling about, they connected me to someone named Amin, who they explained that he was the team lead, that there is not a manager currently at the store. I spent 10 minutes with Amin going over what the CAM is, what their role is. He asked me to text him, which I did, and he said he would give me his email address via text. I did not receive it. I called them again this morning. They said Amin was unavailable. I asked for an email address for Amin and explained why I was calling and what it was about. I got the email address and I forwarded this invite. So those are multiple attempts to get in touch with Walmart, which unfortunately have been unsuccessful. So Mike, before we get to the vote, is there anything I forgot or anything that you need to share about kind of how this works or the CAM agreement?
No, I don't think so. I think you've covered it.
Wow, I thought for sure I'd forget something. Do you mind though, Mike, kind of talking a little bit about what the options are in terms of a maintenance director? Mostly it would either be the city or a third party, is that correct?
Well, no, it could be anybody.
Yeah.
The 4 owners can suggest whoever they want, and then there's a vote. And there's no requirement that the maintenance director be an owner. They could be a third party, or in addition to which the maintenance director can keep some of the responsibilities and can contract out other responsibilities if they want. There is a maintenance fee of 7% payable to the maintenance director. If they contract out some of the responsibilities, then whatever fee is paid to that third party is included in the 7%, so that the CAM isn't charged any more than 7% regardless of who's doing the work. But there is no requirement that the maintenance director be any specific entity or person.
Thank you. And my last question, Mike, that I think would be helpful right before we get started, which is obviously there's 4 CAM participants, 3 of them are here. However, all 3 have more than one person on the call. So does each CAM participant identify one person to vote? Is that how that works?
Yeah, they vote by entity, not by whoever's on the call. And as you pointed out, each entity gets 1 vote for each dollar they paid into the CAM as of last calendar year.
Okay, great. Before I entertain a motion from anyone for a successor agency, does anyone on the call have any questions or anything they want to discuss before we take a vote? I should say after we get a motion, we can have a discussion as well about the motion. But before we get to that point, does anyone have any concerns, questions on the process, anything like that they want to go over?
One thing I should point out is that one of the reasons I'm assuming that Walmart's contribution is the smallest is that under the CAM agreement, they're responsible for taking care of a good part of the common area directly associated with their store and is not part of the CAM budget. And it's at their cost. So that's why their contribution is smaller than the other parties.
Great, thank you. I see a first question from Jackie Lowe.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. Mike, I have a quick question. The funding formula, as Tim talked about earlier, the cost allocation, do you know when we look at that cost allocation? When did we agree upon? Or have we ever revised the cost allocation in the past few years?
The allocation is determined under the terms of the CAM agreement.
So
It's based on square footage primarily, but there are certain parameters in the CAM agreement.
square footage. When was the CAM agreement drafted?
It was drafted, hold on a second. CAM agreement was signed November 24, 1999. It was originally, Walmart was the first party involved in City Center. And the CAM agreement was between Walmart and EAF. And then as the 2 other owners came online, they joined the CAM under the terms of the original CAM agreement.
So we're still following the specifications in the original CAM agreement drafted in 1999.
That's the only CAM agreement there is.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from anyone else on the call?
Tim, hey, it's Dan. I'd just like to ask Mike real quick. I'm looking at the CAM agreement under maintenance director, and it talks about resignation of the maintenance director under article or section 5. And then under subsection B, it references that a majority of all owners shall appoint another person to be the maintenance director. So was there a subsequent amendment that called for the proportional votes?
No, it's in the CAM agreement. Majority of all owners is a defined term and it's on page 2.
Right.
Under section 2E. It says majority of all owners shall mean a majority vote of all owners casting a vote with each voting party having 1 vote for each dollar contributed by such owner toward the CAM cost for the calendar year immediately preceding such vote.
Okay, so a majority of all owners is a defined term. Thank you.
Okay, great. If there are no other questions, I will entertain a motion from one of the 3 CAM participants for a successor maintenance director. We need a motion.
One of the two other owners should speak up if they have somebody in mind.
Something I'd like to discuss with Justin Backstrom, actually. Or to do not on this.
Hello?
John Mitchell from ownership from the Weingarten parcels.
I'm not sure we heard the whole
Yeah.
comment.
I apologize. It's something I will discuss and would like to discuss with Justin Backstrom. I would like to do so outside the confines of this meeting.
Well, if you're
One
not,
in kind.
yeah, if you're not ready to propose or to vote, then Tim, I think probably what you need to do is to adjourn and reconvene the meeting.
Yeah,
later date.
I thought we had, and I know, John, I don't think you could make it, but we did have, just to make sure everybody was prepared for the meeting, Dan Paremba and Brad Power and I did meet with representatives of LNR to discuss the options before this meeting, with the hope that this meeting could be the vote. If that's not the case, we could certainly postpone it, but
I'd let Justin have the vote, Justin Backstrom.
okay.
And in a general sense, I mean, are we just appointing, are we just saying a name? I guess I wasn't necessarily prepared that we were identifying the actual party that's going to take over. In terms of the maintenance, responsibilities, et cetera, obviously something that, our organization would be capable to handle. I don't know that necessarily we're the right party with the right resources at this time. So what would, I guess, in a general sense, who is the other proposed candidate? Because I do recall the last meetings that we had about the possibility of the City of Englewood taking this over and then bidding out to a potential third-party maintenance director. So that was the understanding that I had come into with this meeting, that's what we were discussing here at this time. So apologies if I misunderstood, but I wasn't necessarily prepared to throw a hat in the ring on who should take this over or not. I kind of thought it was leading in the direction that the City of Englewood was going to actually assume some of those responsibilities and contract and work with a third-party maintenance director. So that was my impression of our last meeting.
Your impression is 100% correct. I think we're just kind of getting caught up in the procedural part of it, which is, yes, the city would be interested in being a candidate for being the successor agency, contracting a third party. However, being the representative of the city, I do not feel comfortable making a motion to make the city the maintenance director. And that's why I put it out for a motion.
Understood. I guess then I would probably look at the vote where time and place and resource and availability. If the City of Englewood feels that they can take this and they would work, soliciting something from a third-party maintenance provider, that would be the direction that I vote would be the City of Englewood take the responsibility then.
Okay, so is that a motion then on the table?
Yeah, John, obviously we want your concurrence on that. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then again, if we are being nominated, I'm not comfortable seconding. So there's only one other entity on the call, which is Art Walk City. Would you feel comfortable seconding that motion?
Yeah, we can second that.
Okay, great. So now further discussion. So yeah, I apologize, Justin. I know it's a little confusing just because of the way we have to do this, but yes, the city is interested in being the maintenance director. We would contract out to a third party if that's the direction that the CAM wants us to move towards. If we vote on this today, vote on it soon, that would give us, I think, ample time to figure out what that structure would look like and what a third party would look like. I don't know. So we have our director of public works, Victor Rochelle, on the call, and our maintenance or facilities director, John Peevler. I don't know, Victor or John, if you want to add anything about previous discussions or the city's capacity to do this or what it would look like.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. I can jump in. I think the brief discussion today about the city and then the city potentially using a third-party vendor to help manage it is in line kind of with some discussions that we've had, giving staff resources and funding. So I don't really have any concerns with that respect. And some of the contracts we have will probably carry over. Those are currently month to month. We would refresh them and then work through with a selected manager if we go that route.
Great. Is there any additional discussion? All right, so I'll call for the vote. So we'll do it in alphabetical order. So Art Walk City, you have one vote. Do you vote yes or no on the motion to appoint the City of Englewood as the successor maintenance director for the Eve property?
Yes.
Okay, great. Mike, should I vote or should I abstain?
I don't know that your vote's going to make any difference. But
Yeah.
let's hear from it.
Okay, I'll abstain. So then we'll go to Eleanor. How do you vote?
Yes.
Oh, great. So two votes in the affirmative. I guess Eve will abstain. So given that Eleanor has 600 and something thousand votes in this, and Art Walk City has 140 something thousand, the motion carries. Great. So again, I know this is kind of this CAM I don't think has met often, if at all, in the last 24 years. So I know it's kind of a unique situation to be in. I just want to thank both of our partners, Art Walk City and Eleanor, and of course Walmart, but specifically the two that are on the call for your engagement. I know both of you, we've talked either via email or phone in the past. And so now that we do have a successor agency, the impetus is on the city to develop a proposal of what that would look like. Mike, do you think it would make sense for us to hold another CAM meeting for the city to share its plans and get feedback from the participants? Or would it just work for us to develop it and then share it via email and get feedback that way?
Yeah, I think it's the CAM director's responsibility to set up the structure, et cetera. I think you just need to communicate with the owners as to what's going on.
Okay, great. So we will
obviously any owner can ask for a meeting anytime they want. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's important for Eleanor and Art Walk City to know that you can call for, if you wanted to change the vote or call for another meeting on a different topic, you're more than welcome to do that anytime. It would go through Michelle, and I think you should have her contact.
And just Justin chiming in a general sense, I think we'd prefer to have just a quick call once you guys develop the plan. I think that would be more efficient than kind of going back and forth through the email. So
great.
Just keep that in the back of the head kind of when you guys get that ready.
Great, happy to do that. So Michelle, obviously we need a little bit of time, but maybe if you could just kind of put on your list for maybe hopefully by early October, we'll have a plan because that'll be 30 days out from when Eve is going to resign. So we should try to meet in early October, and then the city can spend September developing a plan. All right. Well, thank you very much, CAM participants. I know this is a little confusing and tricky, and I just appreciate your patience with me as I figured it out and with the whole group. We really appreciate your partnership. We're now going to move on to a regular Eve board meeting that you're more than welcome to stay for. It's a public meeting. Hopefully you saw the agenda. So we're going to be first talking about an agreement with the City of Englewood for dissolution, assumption, and indemnification, and then a few more next steps with dissolution. And then we're going to talk about removing some benches that are on Eve property. So thank you again. I'm going to officially call then this meeting of the Eve board, Englewood Environmental Foundation, to order. That's number one. Number two, approval of minutes. There are minutes for the August 2nd, 2023 meeting. Can I get a motion from one of the two board members to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. Any discussion? We'll vote by voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, no abstaining. Motion carries unanimously through voice vote. Item number 3, recognition of public comment. Michelle, did anyone submit requests for public comment?
No.
Great. Is there anyone on the call wishing to address the board during public comment? All right. Number 4, we already did the CAM meeting. So then we're on to 4B, which is approval of agreement with the City of Englewood for dissolution, assumption, indemnification. So this is an agreement that was drafted by the city attorney for Englewood, Tamara Niles. We did not have a vote on it at the last EAF meeting, but we did briefly discuss. This meeting was approved by the Englewood City Council at their last regular meeting. Mike, as our attorney, I believe you reviewed. Do you have any concerns or questions about the board approving this?
Well, I have one issue that unfortunately I didn't have a chance to look at it until the last couple of days. I didn't look at it before it went to the city council, but there's a provision in there that EAF indemnifies the city against any environmental issues. I'm not aware of any environmental issues. I don't know if it's a real issue here, but EAF is not going to have any assets. So I don't know what would back up the indemnity. It seems to me a silly provision to ask EAF to indemnify when it will be without any assets to support an indemnity. What I am concerned about is, and I would have to do some research that I have not had a chance to do, but if EAF dissolves, if a corporation dissolves and it has an outstanding liability that arises, who's liable for that obligation? I don't know the answer. I fear that it could be either a director or the directors or the shareholders. The shareholder would be the city, so that wouldn't be an issue. But the whole thing seems silly to me. I don't understand the purpose of the indemnity.
So I think, Mike, there obviously we don't want to approve a contract that's not going to be, beneficial for EAF. But I know that time is of the essence on this, and I know the city was really hoping we were going to vote on it.
Yep.
Given, and I'll see what the other 2 board members think. I mean, I think what you surfaced is definitely worth us looking at, but I think we would need to do it really quickly. So I think if you're willing to do that research, I think we would need to ask Michelle to set up a meeting like next Tuesday or Wednesday to vote on it, and that you would need to have your research concluded by then, because the city is really pressing to get this done.
That's certainly doable, but what do we do? Let's assume that the answer to that question is that somebody has individual liability. Then what's your option? What are you going to do? You're going to go back to the city and ask them to remove that provision?
We could.
Mike, as the EAF attorney, would you be talking to the city's attorney about this provision?
I certainly can. I wouldn't want to have that conversation before we've had a chance to research the issue. Does anybody know what the rationale is behind that provision, why it's in there? I mean, the whole point was that EAF was created to shield the city from any environmental issues. At the time that was done, there was a rundown shopping center full of asbestos, and there was concern about that. There also was a gas station across the way. Both of those issues have been resolved and do not present an environmental problem anymore. But by dissolving EAF, the city has obviously made a decision that it's no longer concerned about the environmental, or if there is an environmental, that they're willing to take that on as the property owner. So I just simply am confused as to why we've got an indemnity here. As I said, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Well, the options then are that we approve as is today. That's one option. The other option is that we give Mike a little bit more time to review those questions.
Yeah, and I think Jackie's point is well taken. I think before we, draw a line in the sand or dig our heels in, that I probably ought to have a conversation with Tamara. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe she can enlighten me as to what the thinking was behind that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mike, we
so-
need you to advise board members, board members to move forward. And our city attorney is representing the city. So I think that's a good move.
I
Okay,
agree. So I guess, and Christina, do you have any feelings on this?
Oh, I agree with that.
Yeah,
All right.
another question I have, thank Tim, because I sent a few questions to the EVE board member on August 4th. Mike, in this agreement, it says the chairperson EVE is the director of public works. So just want to clarify, currently our deputy city manager is the EVE president. So when we go through this dissolution process, should the chairperson be the director of public works or deputy city manager?
So Mike, if it's okay, I'm gonna try to answer that, and then if I can't, I'll let you. So this is actually something Jackie, Mike, and Tamara and I had extensive conversation around. The EVE membership was actually changed twice from the original CAM agreement or the original EVE agreement. So originally it was the city engineer, the finance director, and the director of economic development. Obviously your position is the only three that has remained. With the other two, it became the director of public works and the director of community development. In 2019, Brad Power, who was the director of community development, resigned from the EVE board. At that time, EVE held a study, or sorry, the city council held a study session and basically discussed what the makeup should be. And eventually that led to a change in the EVE bylaws to basically say that the council appointed the three directors and they could be any city employee. That was, we both did, I can actually send you all my research records I did on that. And Mike agreed with that after we did the research, as did Tamara. Is that correct, Mike?
I'm not sure I agreed. I agreed.
Okay.
I agreed to defer to the city attorney who had.
Well, that's what I meant.
Who had a strong feeling about it.
Yeah.
We did have a disagreement on that.
Yeah,
Not anything that you said so far. I agree with what you said so far.
Just want to point this out. We know we have this council meeting as records about the appointment of EVE board members. So these are just my questions.
Yeah, and Jackie, I guess I hadn't sent it to you and Christina, but I'll send you my whole analysis.
But if I understand Jackie's question, she's just suggesting that the agreement may have the wrong person designated. What it says is that once you dissolve, if something should come up later that requires a conveyance, there's an asset that was forgotten or something, that somebody be designated to act on behalf of EVE to convey that additional asset. And the person that was designated is the director of public works. Is that right, Jackie? I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, this is what in this agreement.
And it says who's the president. So there's a disconnect there. I think the agreement should just be perhaps cleaned up and say the last acting president of EVE will have the authority to make that conveyance. And that'll solve your problem, won't it, Jackie?
It's not, I just wanted to clarify. Here's the EVE conveyance. EVE hereby authorized city's director of public works that designated a chairperson of EVE. Or we can just take out the city's director of public works, just say the designated chairperson EVE. That will probably solve the problem.
That's my point. I think if we
Yeah.
just do that, then that solves the problem. We don't have to get into the whole discussion of the positions or the titles.
Yeah.
Does that work for you, Tim?
That works for me.
Yeah, so when I talk to Tamara, I will suggest that.
Okay.
Great. So Michelle, if you could look for a time that matches my calendar, Christina's calendar, and Jackie's calendar for Tuesday or Wednesday. And then if you could email Mike to confirm he could meet that, be there. Are you away then?
I'm gonna be out of town on Tuesday. I am available Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay, let's Michelle then look at Wednesday. And if you can't find a time on Wednesday, let's do Thursday. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Chris, sorry, I have more questions. Go ahead.
Should we include Tamara on that meeting as well?
Yes, that would probably be good. And Jackie?
Mike, these are questions for you. I don't have the original CAM agreement, but I'm just concerned if the agreement has not been looked at since 1999, how do we, the funding formula is still adequate? Is it possible when we outsource the property management to another company, the expenses with the CPI adjustments increased or escalated since 1999, then all these camp members will only be paying a fixed amount. Then the RTD and the city will be assume the rest. So I wonder, what is the thought process we would draft to the agreement with the
It
fixed
should not
cost?
work that way at all, Jackie.
Okay, please help us understand.
What it should be is, I'm sorry. What it should be is that a budget is developed for the coming year. And let's assume that the budget says that it's going to cost $1.5 million to run the CAM. Then everybody is supposed to contribute their share based on their square footage.
Okay.
So their share is not fixed at all. It's based on their square footage. And I've got to look at the agreement because there were some parameters negotiated, but they may have been for the start of the deal to protect some of these owners from a large CAM cost going in. But those parameters then went away as the CAM moved forward. I'm happy to take a look at it and get back to you as to how the cost is being allocated, but
Hey guys, Justin with MDC, as it relates to the wine garden parcel, that
Yes.
is exactly how it is being allocated to us. It's a per square foot that's grown by the change in CPI, and it's not ever reconciled or trued up to like an actual, if you will. So I'm not saying that's necessarily what the documents say. I'm just saying that that's how it has been administered to the wine garden parcel this entire time.
I'm confused as to where the CPI comes into effect.
Because there was a fixed rate that was established on the onset of the common area maintenance agreement, and it was an increase by the change in CPI year over year.
Aha, okay. Again, I have to go back and look at the CAM. I don't want to try to do it from there.
No, and I'm not saying what the
No, you're right, John. I don't disagree.
It's just how it was administered. Right?
Yeah.
I'm just kind of throwing that in there. So just
it-
to let it's being administered that way for us. Not sure for the other parties, but just kind of throwing that out there as we're working through this.
Yeah, thank you. Since we're going to move forward to the new property management structure, so Mike, could you help us understand how the funding formula?
I could tell you what the agreement provides currently. And we can go from there.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Anything else on that? We will have a meeting probably next Wednesday, if not Thursday, to have a follow-up discussion. And Mike, if you could please, reach out to Tamara and do the research we discussed, that would be very helpful. All right, then our last dissolution next steps. Mike, could you just give us, and I know we've talked about this before, but so another big milestone today was the CAM successor. The contract with the city is another big step. And after that, what do we have left? Just the IRS letter and anything else?
No, I'd have to defer to Tamara, the RTD cam. There is an intergovernmental agreement between the city and RTD, which I was not involved in. That agreement said that the city would take over maintenance of the common area relating to the RTD areas, which I'm assuming includes things like the bus area, et cetera. And then the city assigned that obligation to EAF, and EAF has been doing it. Now under this contract with the city, that CAM agreement is being assigned back to, the RTD CAM agreement is being assigned back to the city. I'm assuming that somebody's got to reach out to RTD and tell them who's responsible for the maintenance now. And they have a right to audit the CAM charge, their share of that charge, et cetera. But I don't know. So I just think the city needs to take a look at what needs to be done under their the IGA.
So it's the city, not EAF. So you would suggest that
Right.
Tamara about it? Okay.
Yeah. And I can mention that to her as well.
Okay, that'd be great. And then after that, it's the IRS letter and that's it, right?
Right. And before you finally dissolve, we've got to adopt a plan of dissolution and liquidation that we file with the Secretary of State. It's a pretty standard type deal, and we'll get that to you.
Great.
And then the board can vote on it.
Okay, thank you. And the last item that we have is removal of benches. So I'll turn it over to our Director of Public Works, Victor Rochelle, to go over that item.
Thanks, Tim. So I will bring up my screen here in just a second, but to kind of preface the subject, what we're talking about are benches that are located on the east side of the Civic Center building in the breezeway between the 24-hour fitness building and Civic Center building. In total, we're looking at 6 benches that are currently bolted down. And with that, I will share my screen so that everybody can see them. Okay, that should be coming up for everybody. So the view that we're looking at is standing on the north end of the breezeway looking south. The Civic Center building is on your right, and the 24-hour fitness building is on your left. We have one bench immediately in the front of the photo on the left-hand side, and then as you go down, they're kind of labeled, ending with number 6 at the very end of the breezeway, which faces the lower level of the parking garage. In discussing with the police department, this is seen as an opportunity to kind of clean up the area a little bit and prevent some issues that we're seeing with respect to unapproved gatherings and other nuisances that are happening in this area on these benches. We are currently looking at getting pricing for removing these. I don't believe we have that just yet, but I don't expect it to be significant. And we would then look to either reallocate the benches or store them and have them on hand should there be a need to reinstall at a future date. And with that, I'll take any questions anybody has.
Yeah, Victor, I do have a question because we have benches in other EVE area, like around the fountain. Are we going to remove them as well?
Not at this time. This proposal is to address a specific concern that has come up recently and repeatedly for this particular area here due to its location, visibility, and safety concerns.
And Victor, I know you said you didn't have an exact cost. I'm wondering if there's an estimate or if we should, in the motion, put a threshold. I don't expect it to be a crazy amount. I just don't want to approve something without having the money for it if it ends up being significantly more than what we're anticipating.
Sure. So I have a dollar amount in mind. Trey or Melinda, I don't know if you're still on or if you guys have got any updates from contractors, but if we don't have a number, I'd recommend a cap of probably $3,000 or less to remove the benches. I expect it to be substantially less than that, but just in case.
Yeah, do we just want to bring them over to the service center, or maybe ask if Parks need some extra benches? What do you think?
Yeah, we
Should we-
would probably storm at the service center in the interim and then go from there.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you.
All right, can I entertain a motion then?
I'll make a motion to remove the benches and hopefully not to exceed the cap of 3,000.
Great, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Although, great, by voice vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstaining? No, great. All right, thank you. So you have direction to remove the benches when we're able to, not to exceed $3,000.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Does anyone have anything else before we adjourn this meeting? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second?
all those in favor say aye.
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 Great, the meeting's adjourned. Thanks, Michelle, for trying to find a time next week, and have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.